Well, hello and welcome to the CBN News App and our special coverage of looking ahead to 2024. Now that the control of the House and the Senate are pretty much set and we kind of know the landscape going forward, we want to take a deep dive here into some of the things we can expect to see over the second half of Joe Biden's first term. And joining me is CBN's Jenna Browder and CBN's David Brody. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Good, Dan. Great to have you. Great to have you with me.
It's great to all be here, and I'm glad all of you are watching. And this is obviously, people are just very curious as to what's going to happen. There's a lot. The dust got kicked up. It's kind of settled, but there's still a lot that's going to go on here in the next 2 years. So we're going to preview some of that. But let's start, guys, with Nancy Pelosi making a big announcement today, basically saying her time as Democrat leader in the House is going to be over. She's not going to seek to get that position this time around, and it's been 20 years. So if we can take a look here at what she had to say earlier today.
There is no greater official honor for me than to stand on this floor and to speak for the people of San Francisco. This I will continue to do as a member of the House, speaking for the people of San Francisco, serving the great state of California, and defending our Constitution. And with great confidence in our caucus, I will not seek re-election to Democratic leadership in the next Congress. For me, the hours come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. And I'm grateful that so many are ready and willing to shoulder this awesome responsibility.
All right. So what's your reaction to that, David? The news there, was it a surprise? Was it not? What can we expect going forward?
Yeah, I don't think it was a surprise at all. We got an inkling of that a little bit in her interview with Anderson Cooper, where she, in essence, talked about how the attack on her husband had made a difference for her. But no, I don't think this is any shock at all here. And look, I mean, it's definitely a passing of the torch. And the question is, who's she passing the torch to? At this point, it's going to be kind of a mad scramble among the progressives to take this party in an even more progressive direction. And I think that would be the concern. If you're a conservative in America, you got to be wondering, well, wait a minute, how much more progressive can they get? Well, I think they're about to.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk. Hakeem Jeffries will seek that position. But you're right. It's a new day in Washington with the GOP now in control of the House, and looks like Speaker Kevin McCarthy. I was surprised today. We learned the House came out and they said that they're going to start these investigations into Hunter Biden, and I think this is kind of the route that they're taking. I guess I was surprised with how quickly they came out. The dust is still settling. We still don't know some of the races in the House. They're still to be determined. But yeah, I was surprised by that.
What's your reaction to that, David? I mean, the GOP, I mean, you look at this now, and as Jenna said, they jumped right on that. Is this something we can expect to see going forward? More just them focusing on these investigations? Because there's been a lot of talk on, well, what went wrong here for Republicans on the midterms? They expected a lot more than this. I mean, you have all these headwinds going on that really indicated that, okay, it falls on the people that are currently in power, right? If the economy's bad, all these things are happening that are troubling: inflation, high gas prices, high grocery bills, just a lot of pain to the pocketbook. That usually just falls on the people in power, and it didn't this time. So and they blamed it for talking about, making it about abortion, et cetera, et cetera. What are the Republicans going to do here going forward?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think there's going to be gridlock for the next couple of years. And I know Washington and gridlock, whenever we ever said that in the same sentence, but it's true, And Jenna, I thought, had a really astute observation that they were like, okay, we have the majority. Was it called 3 seconds ago? Great, let's schedule the press conference. It's like they were chomping at the bit for this, and but the reason, there's a lot of reasons for it, but there's sadly from an unbiblical perspective, there's some retribution that they want payback, and they're upset at what happened to Trump during the whole impeachment situation, what the Democrats did, and now they're going to go after Biden. As a matter of fact, as Jenna was alluding to, they said that today. I mean, James Comer. Yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you. They in the news conference today, Republicans were accusing Joe Biden of being in on some of Hunter Biden's business dealings. What do you think this portends for Joe Biden?
Well, I think it depends on the evidence that they bring forward. And, the Republicans were getting ripped today by some liberal commentators saying, because one of the lines in there was their evidence is all over the internet. And people are like, really? You're going with evidence on the internet? So in other words, what are the documents? What exactly do you have? Because, I mean, is there a smoking gun? Are there 4 or 5 smoking guns? I mean, you bet if you're going to do this, you better have the goods to deliver. So we're going to see. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of egg on the face of Republicans. It'll be interesting to see how the media covers this too, because these are Jim Jordan's going to run the House Judiciary Committee, and James Comer is going to run the House Oversight Committee. But are Republicans going to, or excuse me, the media really going to take an interest in all of these investigations, or are they going to just say it's it's kind of in the retribution, kind of like, oh, nanny, nanny, boo, boo category. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, the media will typically cover there. It'll be sort of an old news thing. I think that was the way Hillary got out of some of the controversies she was surrounded around. Just said, oh, that's old news. They reported on it last time.
Right.
And they just managed to wiggle out of having to deal with it from that. But we can get back to what the Republicans are going to do and Democrats are going to do and talk a little more in detail on that. But I want to go to former President Trump, who made his announcement. And Dan, if we have that announcement, let's go ahead and roll that real quick. And then I want to respond and talk about, because I think this is where a lot of that uncertainty comes forward with what Republicans are going to do going forward. It's a little different this time around, but let's take a look at former President Trump making his announcement.
But we always have known that this was not the end. It was only the beginning of our fight to rescue the American dream. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
So, is that going to be MAGAGA? Make America Great and Glorious Again. I don't know if we're going to go to, I don't think that's not quite as catchy as MAGA. But I want to start there because I think this is, the biggest thing, probably the biggest storyline going forward, obviously, is Trump running. And I have a lot of questions here. But number one, David, why do you think he announced so early?
Well, there's this conventional wisdom that, very hard to potentially indict someone who's running for president. And I think that might be part of it. But I also think that, Trump's been hinting at this honestly, ever since he left the Oval Office, he's been hinting at this. And so, Trump is not only a muckraker, but he's unconventional. Oh, this just in, he's unconventional. And so, we've never seen a president announce this early. I mean, we just haven't. So, I just think he wants to get going. I think it's a way to define the narrative early. He saw that, a lot of people are saying don't do it because all this stuff is stacked against you. The deck is stacked against you. And I think that's exactly the reason why he did it, because he's the underdog. He loves the underdog role. If he looked like everything was going great for him, well, then there's nothing to rail against. There's nothing to be, angry about. I mean, he needs to feel like everybody's ganging up on him. And so I think this was actually kind of pretty good timing for him.
Yeah. I was listening to some analysis, it was yesterday or today, and they were saying that with Trump really the only candidate in the race now for 2024, he doesn't have anybody to beat up on. So he kind of needs other candidates to get in so that he has somebody to, punch at. I have noted, Twitter, different platforms, he has gone after Ron DeSantis. And you have to think, David, that he sees Ron DeSantis as somewhat of a threat to be going after him like this.
Yeah, I mean, he started with Ron DeSanctimonious, but honestly, that's child's play for Trump. I mean, he's just getting going. He hasn't started. I'm not convinced that DeSantis is going to get in, by the way. I do think he wants to get in. That's not what I'm saying. I think he wants to get in, but I think when he takes a closer look at it, there's a lot of problems ahead for DeSantis. Because remember, if DeSantis gets in the race, he's going to have to attack Trump. I mean, these are two alpha males. So he's not going to, I mean, it's not going to be where Trump bashes on DeSantis. DeSantis will give it back to Trump. The problem is if you attack Trump, you're attacking the MAGA king. You're attacking MAGA. You're attacking the very voters that you need in the primaries. And I think that's a game of three-dimensional chess that's going to be very difficult for Ron DeSantis. And plus, why tarnish yourself? I mean, why be the next Lying Ted or little Marco? I mean, to me, you know, and why even be involved with Trump at all? Like he's got a lot of baggage, you know, obviously Trump does. And so why even kind of get involved in that mess and just, you know, get out of the pigsty? And I would just stay out of it. But we'll see. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see for sure.
David, you know, there has been talk this week after Republicans' poor showing in the midterm elections, disappointing showing. You know, there is talk that some of Trump's base is upset with him, is potentially leaving him. What do you make of those?
So Jenna, I'm glad you brought that up because this is really interesting. So. And do I have some here? I think it's in this bottle somewhere, like some truth serum. Like, can I give everybody some truth serum? Because if we gave truth serum to every conservative in America, you know what? I'm talking about truth serum. Here's what they would say. Yeah, kind of wish Trump would just kind of evaporate, and I would like DeSantis probably better. That's what they would. But a lot of them won't say it publicly. A lot of the MAGA folks won't say it publicly. They're going to be with Trump to the bitter end. But deep down, they probably wouldn't mind seeing DeSantis over Trump. Now, you know, having said that, I'm not quite sure. I will tell you this, that in terms of the people that are lining up against Trump, you've got the GOP mega donors. Already 2 of them have said they're not going to support Trump. I think the bigger problem for Trump is the Murdoch-backed News Corps. You know, because you've got Fox News that pretty much is going to start to be the pro-DeSantis network. And then you've got the New York Post and the Wall Street Journal, and they're all negative on Trump right now. I don't know if you saw, but the New York Post ran that headline. Did you guys see that post? New York Post ran a headline after Trump announced, and it said at the bottom of the headline, it said, Florida man makes announcement on page 26. This is the conservative New York Post, owned by Rupert Murdoch's group News Corps, who put Florida man makes announcement, page 26, and they did a blurb on page 26. Look, that's a problem for Trump. I mean, if that's they don't want Trump. The Murdoch folks don't want Trump, and that's a problem for him from a media strategy standpoint.
I noticed I was curious. This was yesterday. I was curious what some of the Fox News programs would lead with after Trump's announcement. They weren't leading with Trump's announcement.
Yeah. I noticed that too.
And you know, that's also interesting. When I was watching, and I had Chinese food, I was just watching Trump's announcement. Not that I had to announce that I had Chinese food. I know that had nothing to do with anything. but literally on Fox News, I'm watching Fox News, and Hannity goes to it, and I'm watching for about 20 minutes, and all of a sudden they dump out. Like you said, I mean, they dumped out, and I had to go over to Newsmax to watch it, at least on my 1985 television. I know I'm back to television, but anyhow, so. It's just interesting. Very new dynamic. So a lot of different challenges, not to mention January 6th is a clear challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to just take a quick time out here because for all of you, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to continue this conversation on the CBN News app. And I would just encourage you, for as great and fantastic as YouTube is, I would encourage you to download the CBN News app because essentially on all these digital media platforms, you are largely getting influenced by what an algorithm decides you should and shouldn't see. So take that control of your news, watch a news network, CBN News, that mirrors your values, your Christian values. So download the CBN News app. We are going to continue this conversation for a little bit longer here. We appreciate you tuning in and hope to see you over there on the CBN News app.